Dean Maccabe was always an athlete. Growing up in Southern California, Maccabe played football and basketball and suffered from chronic knee injuries.
My doctor told me, when you go to high school, you can't play football because you'll probably end up in a wheelchair because of your knees. So I didn't play football in high school. Took up diving instead.
Maccabe was 18 years old and a successful high school diver. He had spent years diving from platforms, high dives, and cliffs for fun and in competition. But it was a life-changing day when Dean went out with friends and a steady girlfriend and dove off of those same cliffs he had dove from so many times before.
I just timed the wave wrong. The wave came in, I waited, I hesitated, and then I dove, and the wave washed out by then. So it just wasn't deep enough that time.
Maccabe shot through the water before pounding headfirst into the shallow sandbar. He remained conscious but lost all feeling in his lower body with only a slight motion with his hands.
Could not hold my breath anymore, and I let out my last breath, and I thought that was it. And you know, they talk about your life flashes before you. It's true.
Maccabe felt the visions of people in his life when his buddy jumped into the water and pulled him out. Friends then carefully stabilized his head and called paramedics. Maccabe sustained a spinal cord injury, leaving him as quadriplegic, and remained in traction for 2 weeks. Then spent 3.5 months in rehab, learning how to live in a wheelchair.
We didn't really know the severity of it, and also I think when you're young, you don't understand like the severity of things when things are happening.
Lisa Castellanos had been dating Dean for a year and was lying on the beach when the accident happened, but she stepped up and supported Dean throughout his recovery.
As a teenager, you're sort of resilient because you don't really understand the implications of how it's going to affect the rest of your life.
After being discharged from the hospital, Maccabe was living with his parents. He wasn't motivated to do anything and just sat around and drank with friends trying to cope. He was watching his life pass, having a hard time adapting to this new life.
I went from high school, being the prom king in high school and Mr. Popularity, to some guy in a wheelchair now who was a shut-in, who didn't want to leave the house or do anything.
Maccabe finally started college and moved into an apartment with Lisa. He continued to become more independent, taking care of his own needs. He played wheelchair tennis for a few years before Dean Maccabe was finally introduced to wheelchair rugby.
There was this one guy who was going down the court with the ball in his lap, and this other guy comes flying across the side of the court and just drills him, just smacks right into him, knocks him over. He falls out of his chair, hits the ground, cuts his eye, starts bleeding. The ambulance had to come and take the guy away, and I said, oh, I want to play this sport.
Maccabe joined a club team and began traveling, working out, and competing in wheelchair rugby tournaments around the country.
Once he got exposed to wheelchair sports, it pretty much changed everything.
Like all Olympic athletes, Maccabe would spend mornings, nights, and weekends in training. He traveled the country competing in tournaments, and with all that, still carried a full-time job.
I ate, I slept, I drank, I dreamed wheelchair rugby.
Maccabe tried out for the Olympic teams in 1996, making that first team as an alternate. Then played for Team USA in the World Championships of 1998. And in the 2000 Olympics in Australia, Maccabe made the first team and earned the gold medal. His family was there to see it. Maccabe visited the White House, met with the president, and enjoyed all the perks of a gold medal winner. But then, Maccabe moved his focus to his career. Dean worked with patients and therapists in the rehab industry. He worked his way up to district manager of California and Nevada before being approached by Xperia Healthcare.
What we really needed was a great presence inside the rehab hospitals. And so I asked around the industry and trying to find out someone that had the best integrity, someone that was good at what they did, and Dean's name kept coming up and up and up.
Don Woods is an Orange County businessman and the creator of Xperia. He knew that Dean could do more than fill the job of director of rehab and accessibility.
The guy is really a solid individual. He's great to be around. He's funny.
We don't care how tough it gets. we're not going to give up, we're going to keep on going. That's the kind of guy he is.
I just really love Dean and glad that he's part of our company and part of our team here. I feel very blessed.
Dean and his wife Lisa are now the proud parents of 2 children.
Our weekends consist of kid stuff, birthday parties. I mean, I think our life is pretty typical of parents with young kids.
Maccabe has overcome the setbacks of his youth. He is now stronger and more stable in spite of his life in a wheelchair.
Everybody's dealt certain cards in life, and you just have to play those cards and make the best out of them. Easy as that. Ready?
So damn easy to say that life's so hard. Everybody's got their share of battle scars. As for me, I'd like to thank my lucky stars that I'm alive